to the final round of the ggClassic tournament, number 2, brought to you by Arcade, which will be coming up next weekend. That is the final. So Group A today, Group B tomorrow, finals weekend next weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be very exciting. Oh my god, next weekend's gonna be so good. Oh
It
my
is.
goodness.
I can't wait. I just wish this weekend was over. Not really, but I am very excited about next weekend too. I enjoy all my weekends, but when there's a tournament to be casted and to watch, it is even that much more exciting. So we do see support daddies filling in for AL.NA. Of course, JPack was their previous support, and it looks like King Sick Motion might be filling in for Josh in the jungle. It is kind of hard to figure out who's filling in where and what exactly is what's going on with their team. But I think we're trying to give you up to date information. But like prior to today, we didn't even know who their support was going to be,
Can we
and they
just
were not telling us
can
either.
we address the gusto with which they have banned Anivia in the chat? Like,
Yes, we can.
Anivia is thoroughly banned. Like, don't even fake pick it. Don't even click it and then click something else.
Don't even hover over it; they will get mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually Anivia has been the chat ban in all 3 games against CLG.EU so far, with good reason. You don't want Froggen to play on Anivia, although some
No.
spectators have mentioned that maybe they wouldn't be so good at Anivia with the extra lag that they've had, but so far the lag hasn't really been an issue. They seem to be spot on with their reaction times, with their farming. It's all been very stellar. Then we are into the actual picks and bans. So Anivia was banned from AL.NA, and the ban from CLG.EU was Twisted Fate.
Yeah, so, Twisted Fate, again, we're seeing a lot of focus on these globals, as we've said over and over again. Not very surprising that we're seeing something like Twisted Fate banned, because, of course, it is just so strong when you have that movement. You have that ability to really move around the map very, very quickly. Not at all surprising. We see Vladimir and Alistair banned right off the bat as well.
Yeah, Alistar, very common ban just because of his jungle presence. Though we did see him picked up last game by Curse and was not incredibly effective. Didn't get the early ganks that they had hoped to get. We also see a Malphite ban. Obviously, they don't want Wicked to be playing Malphite. Did play Malphite, I believe, in the first game, and actually did have kind of troubles top lane. I think got ganked a couple times. Did not have a stellar game as Malphite, and last game played Rumble. So we'll see if they pick up a Rumble again. And we actually see a Karthus ban, which is not unusual. Karthus is a great ban, and I suppose they're afraid of him being first picked, but of course, they did actually play Karthus in the last matchup, used him to great extent, and a Shen ban, and we are now to our final ban.
Yeah, so far we've seen about 1,000 global or long distance ultimates being banned, both Karthus, Shen, as well as that Twisted Fate. So we're going to see what this last ban is going to be, as well as that first pick. That first pick really kind of sets the pace for the rest of the picking phase. We're going to have to see how the teams want to go about it. But you see a Graves ban coming out here for CLG.EU.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I know Sneaky Castro. I play with Sneaky Castro. He certainly plays a lot of AD champions at a high level, so I'm not certain why they, in particular, didn't want him to play Graves. I guess Graves is a really strong bottom laner, does scale really well, but generally not considered ban-worthy in the tournament stage. And if the past games have been any kind of indication, we will likely see maybe a first 2 pick AD and support combination coming from CLG.EU. So now that they know Graves isn't there, they at least know one thing that's not going to counter them, and they can pick their composition based on that. So we shall see. We do see a first pick, Yi being hovered over, likely not going to be picked. Oh my goodness!
I love AL.NA. I'm officially a fanboy. Again, for those of you that are just joining us over here on the purple team, we do have CLG.EU playing on CLG.NA accounts, so do not think for a second that Hotshot GG is actually Hotshot GG. They're just trying to make my life as complicated as possible. But a Master Yi pickup by AL.NA. Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, I am a little bit confused, and we see, yep, on the counter side, oh, it was Urgot, which I think the chat was calling, oh, don't let him get Urgot, but now we're not sure, Urgot or Ashe, and so far we are being, not necessarily trolled, but we're seeing some unusual hoverovers and picks. So what is that Yi going to be? Is it going to be an AP Yi? Is it going to be a jungle Yi? I have no idea. I'm completely flabbergasted so far.
Maybe it's a counter pick. I wish we could see chat, because I don't know if this is like An Evelyn situation where it's a placeholder? No,
Right.
surely not.
I don't think so. I've never seen Yi used as a placeholder. I'm sure Sneaky Hastro owns Eve. Eve is the standard placeholder. I mean, if you didn't own Eve, you'd probably go to Twitch as your placeholder. So
Yeah.
I think that's going to be Yi locked in, and we actually see a Skarner picked up, and that will likely be a Skarner in the jungle, and that's pretty interesting because Skarner actually is one of Sick Motion's highly played champions.
Hmm.
So not going to be able to pick that up. I actually see, yeah, it has a 255 ranked games played as Skarner, so certainly
Oh
a
goodness.
good Skarner player. Also plays Jax and is going to be the jungle, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to see who they select now that their Skarner is unavailable.
Yeah, and again, for those of you that are just joining us, I have seen the viewer count has gone up a little bit here. We do have Anivia as well as who's Twisted Fate are both banned. They
Yes,
were
Twisted
banned in
Fate.
chat, so Twisted Fate and Anivia are off the board. For all of you looking forward to that Frog and Anivia, not going to happen this particular game. So we do see the Janna as well as the Ezreal pickup as well so far. Janna, again, one of my favorite supports. A support that really has a lot of effects on teamfight. You know, the displacement on the ultimate is so strong. Any kind of displacement you can do in League of Legends tends to be very, very strong. You know, there's not a ton of them. There's not a lot of examples of things where you can directly influence positioning in teamfights of other people. And so they tend to be very, very strong when you do manage to pick them up. An example, Urgot. Urgot able to have that swap, able to get in there and try to pick somebody off with his tankiness, kind of run out of the opposing situation as well. And we do see Aurelia and Fiddlesticks being selected right now, not quite locked in just yet.
Right. I was going to say, why would they pick Fiddlesticks right after they pick Janna? Because as you mentioned, Janna has that displacement, really helps against AoE ultimates such as Cannon, such as Fiddlesticks, can be countered later on in the game. Once those champions get a Zonias, they can jump on in and then immediately hit that Zonia. So that's certainly helpful for them. And it looks like it might be a Soraka lock-in. Yes, it is going to be Soraka and Aurelia. So Aurelia is going to be the top lane from Wicked. Of course, Wicked, top lane player for CLG.EU. I feel like we have to say this over and over that is CLG.EU on that side, not Hotshot GG. So Wicked, well renowned for his Aurelia play, has not played him, so far today. Did play him in recent tournaments. Still a very strong pick. Still can counter a number of people, and of course, locking that in before they know the top lane from AL.NA. So Wicked going back to the tried and true Aurelia. Just feels like he could probably handle his lane any which way as Aurelia, and he's proved time and time again that he can do that. So we're going to see the final two picks from AL.NA. Of course, we still don't know where Yi is going. Yi will probably go in the jungle, although I have no real knowledge of Sick Motion playing Yi in the jungle. So it looks like it will be a Rise pickup for middle, which, of course, Froggen's going to have a chance to counterpick with that last pick. And perhaps, who is this final pick going to be? And Olaf is locked in. So we still have not solved the mystery. Olaf could go in the jungle or also could go top lane.
Yeah, I get my guess at this point would be Olaf top lane with that Master Yi in the jungle. But oh my god, I'm so excited to see Master Yi. Oh my goodness.
I'm very excited about it as well. I've always felt he's like kind of underappreciated. MTWNA played Master Yi in the jungle a little bit, and their strategy was like kind of have more support oriented solo lanes and really count on Master Yi for their damage. So they actually have Master Yi like go into their lane and
Hmm.
push it and like take all the creeps away. And you think, oh, a lot of times solo lanes don't like that. But if you're in an arranged group and they've agreed to it, and you have a hyper carry like Yi, then that's something you certainly can work with. So we are going to see this final pick, and it looks like it's going to be Eve. Oh man, no, it will not be Anivia. Anivia was chat banned, so Froggen's pick is apparently not owned by Snoopy on his Smurf account on the North American servers. So we're going to have a remake, and they will let us know what the final pick is for that AP champion.
Yeah, yeah. So when you're playing on these Smurf accounts, definitely want the least account or least champion person to be in that last spot so they can do exactly what they're doing right now. And we will have to find out what that pick actually was in just a second here.
Yeah, an interesting thing that I don't. I mean, it hasn't really played into a lot of people's minds, but Quicksilver Stash is still being bought. We've seen it, today. It's kind of the defensive item of choice for AD carries, but it is more expensive now. It doesn't give you the same amount of magic resist, so I feel like people are being disincentivized to actually buy it. So maybe they'll be going towards GA. And if you're not going to pick up that Quicksilver Stash, or it's going to cost you 200 extra gold, that suddenly makes champions like Warwick, like Skarner especially, and like Malzahar just that much stronger because it takes, a little bit of extra gold to counter them.
Yeah, so you're essentially costing them more farm by making them pick up that item because you're essentially forced into buying it at that point. Some kind of defensive item like that to let you actually get Skarner Ultimate and continue to fight. So either QSS or, as you mentioned, Guardian Angel, certainly an option, especially on very particular champions. So we are seeing the picks come out here once again. We're going to see what that last pick was for. Sound effect was that? We're going to see what pickup comes up here for CLG.EU.
Right. And they're making us wait once again until the final pick. They like leaving us in suspense.
Mm-hmm. The Ari pick coming out.
So it is Ari. We did see Ari play by Frog in the first game as well.
So Yi was a placeholder for Nautilus. We can confirm now. The Master Yi was oh man, that ruined my day. I was all excited. I was ready. I was ready to party.
No longer our favorite team. We're like, this is gonna be so awesome. But yeah, I don't know why in particular they used Yi, just to get our hopes up, I suppose. Certainly Nautilus makes more sense. A really great jungler has a buttload of CC, actually 4 CC abilities. Most of the game has the slow, the dredge line pullback, the passive snare, and his ultimate, which is a knock up, and can land on multiple people. So a great champion, not a hyper carry that he is. We're not going to have that same excitement, sadly. Very sadly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. That's okay. We are going to have a very excellent game here. It is going to be super fun and awesome. Nautilus is a very fun champion to watch, of course, with that hook, with the mountain of CC that he brings to the table. He has approximately 14,000 CCs. I'm not sure if you are familiar with that, but it is quite a few.
It is quite a few. So how do you think this game is going to play out? Do you see any particular strengths or weaknesses in the lanes? What do you think about that Aurelia versus Olaf top lane?
I'm not sure I have too much of an opinion. We do have Wicked playing on that Aurelia, and when I see Wicked on Aurelia, the playbook goes out the window a little bit. He is, of course, very, very good at that Aurelia. Plays him whenever he feels like he can get away with it based on the current patch, because, of course, she gets nerfed or unnerfed very slightly every single patch that has ever come out in League of Legends. But we're going to have to see. We're going to see how effective you can play. And again, as almost always, it comes down so much in that top lane to jungles. Whose jungler is able to get a better angle, who's able to get a better sneaky kill up there, who's able to lock them down, burn summoners. There's so many possibilities in that top lane, and so much of it comes down to the participation of that jungler. As I think it's Dyra says, nobody should die top lane unless there's outside interference, unless there's a jungler, unless there's a global ult, unless there's something that isn't making it a 1 versus 1 situation, unless you've been completely outpicked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, but I think we do see quite a bit of aggression from top lane players, where they might get those kills. I think Ghost in particular is a great offensive ability where you can certainly follow up a great axe from Olaf, land that undertow, then land those reckless swings, and follow up. And I think the trades do favor Olaf early on. Aurelia gets to a point where she just kind of beats you down over a length of time. She's such a great duelist in large part because of her CC, but of course Olaf can break that, and Olaf is going to be in particular safe from Skarner as well, not going to be trapped by that ultimate, by that impale. Certainly a good pick to counter kind of that lineup, that top lane presence post 6. Before 6, is going to have to be worried. Skarner does essentially have perma-slow from those Qs spamming down. If he has red buff as well, it's really hard to get away from.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have about a minute to go before this game does get underway, so let's just catch everybody up on information once again. Of course, over here on the purple team, we have CLG.EU playing on the CLG.NA accounts, so do not be misled by their names. And this is, of course, the group stage, day 1 of the, what is the full name of the tournament? It's a mouthful.
The ggClassic brought to you by Arcade. Actually, that is not the full name. We'll get to the full name to you, but those are the most essential parts. ggClassic 2. brought to you by Arcade, our sponsor, and a great sponsor ggClassic #1, and hopefully there will be more to come in the future as well. And of course, we have CLG.EU in this game. We have Taipei Assassins coming tomorrow, and then a lot of American teams, North American teams that are frequently in these tournaments. So do stay tuned throughout these group stages and into next weekend.
Yes, very excited to see Taipei Assassins play tomorrow. Those are going to be some really great games. I will be watching thoroughly. It looks like we are just about to go into the loading screen here of CLG.EU versus AL.NA. I have to say it like that every time. I have to really articulate those letters.
AL.NA. That's a good idea. So it, of course, is Absolute Legends North America, a team that is in a little bit of flux. They recently dropped JPack as a support player. Looks like they're picking up Support Daddy, and AL Josh not available, I suppose, for the jungle. So Sick Motion subbing in there, and Jintai also not the usual middle champion for them either. So really a lot of subs in there, and they are playing against a really good side, CLG.EU. We do see they have about 143 ping, but they've been able to do pretty well. And the place I always get concerned about is, are they going to be able to farm well with that ping? And so far, CLG.EU has been able to farm incredibly well throughout their first two games. So not as big of an issue as you might otherwise think.
Well, a lot of it when you're talking about ping, a lot of it comes down to the consistency of ping. There's a big difference
Right.
between having 140 ping and having 140 to 200 ping.
Right.
Big difference there. If you're getting those little spikes, it can be very difficult to aim your skill shots. But with consistency, it's not too bad. And looks like we are going to have to check for any kind of early aggression here. Of course, that Nautilus is always able to try to get some kind of hook on somebody. But we're going to see if they choose to do any kind of aggressive positioning, or if, as we saw in the last game, they're both going to just kind of do the standard thing.
Right. And actually, every single game we've seen CLG.EU take this, same setup where they just defensively go across the board, try to guard all the entrances into their jungle. They have awarded their own blue buff. Really just defensive play overall to ensure that they don't get invaded, and they have not been interested in invading in any game. So, that's kind of the stereotypical European approach. At least that's what we call it from the American side, where they're defensive, and that started, I believe, in the season 1 championships, where every game Fnatic and SK would just kind of sit back, where all the American teams would try to go in and invade, and then they would be spotted, and nothing would come of it. The only interesting thing in the game so far is Urgot with a Doran's Blade pickup instead of boots. So really just going to try to overpower that bottom lane. Of course, has almost infinite sustain with that Soraka. So that is going to be a really annoying lane from the opposition, from Ezreal and Janna. Of course, they have no inherent sustain between the two of them, and we're going to have to see whether or not they're going to be able to, stand up to that Urgot lane.
Yeah, of course, that Urgot loves playing as aggressively as possible. Fairly early in the game, he really kind of benefits a lot from just the tanky nature of himself, along with that shield. And the Soraka is really a perfect matchup for him, able to do that sustain, able to let him do that Doran's Blade first, which is something he surely wants to do.
Oh, no way.
They are trying to do right here, but it is warded. A little bit of foresight here by AL.
Yes, that's a really interesting strategy, but it's not going to work out incredibly well. Support Daddy does come up and does interrupt him, but actually is not going to be able to stop it, and the red buff is picked up, so they knew what was happening. They didn't have sight, on the red buff anymore, but they saw them pull it away, so a Wraith was stolen, and the red buff was stolen, so that was a really big pickup, and King Sick Motion is actually going into the opposing jungle, but red buff was taken first by Skarner, which is relatively unusual, something that would be unexpected by AL.NA. So really kind of a great play and great strategy so far by CLG.EU, picking up that red buff and giving that to Urgot, which is so devastating.
Yeah, I love little plays like that. Anything that gives you a little bit of an advantage, especially on something like Urgot. If he's able to get that auto attack in, gonna be able to at least land a Q on you. If he lands that W, he's gonna, of course, be able to spam into you. And he was able to spend a lot of that mana and a lot of the HP on that because he's laning with that Soraka, who's gonna be able to go ahead and fill him just right back up on mana and then HP. So good. Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah, and King Sick Motion on Nautilus here, he knows that his jungle was invaded, but I don't think he knows the extent. He probably doesn't know his big wraith is missing. His red camp hasn't been cleared out, so it's not going to be cleared for quite a while. That means it's not going to be respawning until 5 minutes after those mini camps have been landed. And we do see a little bit of aggression coming down bottom. Urgot able to land some spells on Ezreal, doing a decent amount of damage, not a huge amount of damage. Of course, the shield able to protect Ezreal from it, and all the other lanes going pretty regularly. It looks like Aurelia farming up top lane pretty great. Has actually pushed Olaf back to his tower, and that's actually been Wicked's strategy, so far in this tournament. Just pushing that lane really early and then getting that early back so he can get ward protection and get that early item advantage.
Yeah, and I actually like that. That's very good, especially when he knows that Nautilus is starting just so far behind, doesn't have that red buff, doesn't have access to it at all. So not terribly afraid of him in the first, couple minutes of the game, and really using that to his advantage, using that to get that first back, to pick up upgraded boots, no ward, boots, and a couple more pots. Just really wants to play as aggressively as possible. Of course, having that faster attack speed is going to give Aurelia a little bit better sustain as well. So a very nice pickup by him.
Yeah, that is a nice pickup. I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of ward. I mean, even a Nautilus without red buff is dangerous just because he has all those forms of CC that we mentioned in the pregame matchup. But we do see, wow, Wicked going really aggressive on Olaf, just going to try to force him back early, I suppose. So those boots, a pretty stellar pickup apparently that allowed him to really win that trade. And we'll see if he keeps on the pressure here. Of course, he does not have the ward, so Nautilus is dangerous, but Nautilus is bottom lane, and I'm pretty sure. I do not believe the CLG knows he's there, but they're actually positioned really well on the top portion of the lane in defense of it. Oh, and now actually, they actually throw out the Q to hit him. Penalift is getting taken down pretty low, does get exhausted, and it's actually just going to be able to walk on out of there. Had to burn his flash, but it's going to be safe for now, so whew. It's a little bit dangerous. Both of the summer spells use the heal going down, the flash going down from Urgot. So a pretty successful gank overall. Like I was surprised because they hit him with the Q right before he came out, but he was still able to get hooked.
Yeah, we see just how much damage those Urgot Qs are doing to Ezreal this early game. We do see Aurelia playing very aggressive here on this Olaf top, just not afraid at all to really play up on him, really wants to take advantage of that early game lead she has, and the early game confidence of knowing where this Nautilus has been and what kind of game he's been having so far, just not at all afraid. Part of it was that bot lane starting with such a great advantage with that red buff. Nautilus was almost kind of forced to help out that bottom lane, which put of course, Wicked in that position where he could play very, very aggressively top and try to build up an advantage top lane as well.
Right, and now we actually have Nautilus camping this top lane, going to come through the lane to gank, so he's probably just waiting for Aurelia to jump on Olaf. Will they take the bait? Maybe, but maybe not. Frog is actually coming up top as well. He's going to get caught out in this bush.
Uh-oh, we probably will see Ari have to blow something here to get away. Will it be the ultimate or will it be a flash? It looks like Aurelia is going to try to come around, but not going to be able to offer too much assistance to Ari, and she is going to go ahead and blow that ultimate to get out of there. Still has her flash up, which is, of course, going to be very nice for her. Rise coming up as well, just in case there were any shenanigans going on. And Skarner is going to go ahead and push the lane.
Yeah, so no first blood yet. Ari did get down to 70 life there. One more axe would have sealed the deal. Essentially one more hit of anything would have done it. Oh, and now we see a lot of aggression top lane, and Aurelia picking up first blood. Wow. That dive, just like I have my ultimate, even though Olaf had his and actually used his, it was not enough to save him, and so Wicked, of course, knowing exactly the limits of Aurelia.
Yeah, we do see, actually, I'm a little bit surprised that the bottom lane is so even. The creep score, 46 to 47 right now. Ezreal is, of course, sitting very, very low, needs to be a little bit careful, but the CS is very, very close right now.
Yeah, Ezreal has been doing a good job of farming, but we see Janna is just about out of mana, and Ezreal is just about out of life, so he's going to have to go back, which means he's going to lose out on some CS here, and that's kind of, the game you play, the frightening game you have to play against Urgot, where he's just going to eventually bully you out of lane and get that advantage. Not necessarily by out farming you early, but just forcing you back. And of course, Saraga helps that out a lot. So now they're going to back out, and a lot of these minions are going to be lost to this turret. So it is only like a 6-7 minion lead for Urgot, but that will grow over time, and we've seen, of course, they were able to out-sustain them. They did pick up that early red buff, and now that they're going to pick up some items, let's see how big of an advantage they can have. We do see Ezreal picking up the early fade, so he has a little bit of survivability, and Urgot not really deciding, the early brutalizer, so that extra armor pen is going to be huge for him. And how much armor pen? He actually has 46 armor penetration now, so that is 15 from the brutalizer unique passive, and then an extra 20 some, so running a very heavy armor pen page likely.
Yeah, and part of what we're seeing right now top lane is just a lot of zoning out here by the Aurelia. She has that phase proc, and Olaf can't risk getting a proc. Oh, we see a lot of action here. Bottom support daddy getting that Scar ultimate. He is going to go down. Fortunately, Urgot taking the kill for him. Of course, he wants as much early snowballing as possible, and Skarner has that early oracles as well. Going to roam around, going to be able to take out any kind of map control that AL has right now. We have a pretty fresh ward here in the tri-bush. Going to be able to take that down at some point. A nice phase proc there by Ezreal, so he's able to get a couple extra harassment hits as well. But it's looking pretty dangerous here for AL so far.
Yeah, it's looking pretty bad. And not only did they pick up the kill bottom lane, but Urgot didn't even have to expend his own ultimate, so certainly has that option. We do see Wish going off, or maybe that was a function of my replay catching back up. But I believe the Wish did go off. Is that correct? Like Froggen might have been in a little bit of trouble. Is that what happened in middle there?
Yeah, he did have to burn his flash to actually get over the wall and just barely escape at the last moment there, especially with that last wish. He does still have his ultimate up, which is very fortunate for him. On Ari, it's very painful when you have to use that ultimate just to survive. Again. And of course, Aurelia, I'm going to go ahead and kill that Olaf once again. And now the question is, how does Olaf come back to lane? What does Olaf do at this point? 37 CS compared to the 80 CS of Wicked, and this is why Wicked is Aurelia machine. Oh my god, Wicked on Aurelia.
Yeah, it is incredibly impressive. Like, I thought Olaf would be winning those early matchups, but Aurelia was just so dominant, so aggressive early on, and then 2 tower dives, essentially. 2 tower dives all alone to pick up those 2 kills on Olaf, and now it's so far ahead. If Olaf does pick up a Heart of Gold, then I think that's going to have to be a strategy. Pick up Heart of Gold, maybe pick up Philosopher's Stone, and then really just, hope he can passively make some money and get a little bit of farm, with his axe, perhaps, because at this point, of course, he cannot trade with Aurelia, and it would even be kind of dangerous to send Nautilus up top. Nautilus has had so much CC, but Aurelia is just able to put out so much damage, and I don't know how much Olaf's really going to be able to help. Does not have his Ignite up right now, so doesn't have that extra source of true damage, whereas actually, Wicked still has his Ignite up, so it's going to be incredibly dangerous in this lane.
Yeah, absolutely. We did see, just a second ago, we did see Ari have to blow her ultimate once again to kind of get away from a gank. But, the thing is, she's blowing these very consistently, but Nautilus hasn't made any kills happen so far. If she has to lose these to not let any kind of snowballing happen with Nautilus, she will take it. She's going to be able to move into the mid game and be very, very aggressive with those ultimates and flashes, but in this early game, she's just having to use them kind of defensively, and that's really okay by her.
Yeah, we do see Nautilus camping out top. Looks like he's going to go in here because there's going to be another dive on Olaf. Oh, the dredge line misses. Oh, and the kill goes down on Olaf anyway. And now it's a level 10 Aurelia versus a level 6 Nautilus. And Nautilus is just going to back away.
I'm going to make the bold decision to favor the Aurelia in that situation.
Yeah, I would too. And Nautilus doesn't have that much mana. It does have red buff, but man, Wicked just putting on a clinic up there. And even though they were trying to bait out Aurelia and Wicked to go...
Uh-oh. Does look like my co-caster has cut out a little bit here. Are you still with me? Soter? And apparently not. So as I don't know anything he was saying, we do see Skarner trying to get a gank here. Does manage to get that onto the support. Jana taking a lot of damage. Ishkamil burned down, just barely got to be able to get him with that very last Q from Urgot, but he is going to pay for it with his life. Ezreal and a lot of damage, no mana whatsoever, but it looks like they might have to give up the kill just because the tower is going in at Skarner very, very hard. Oh my goodness. So 1-for-1 exchange down there on the bottom. Of course, the Ezreal living and the Urgot dying bottom. A little bit of a favor there to AL. Of course, they did get a little bit of an extra assist gold, though, because it was a 3-on-2. Looks like Urgot in a dangerous position once again. I'm sorry, Olaf, not Urgot. This is what happens. I solo cast and I panic. Oh my god. Oh my god. So we do have Ezreal happily farming here in the bottom, taking that free time that he has. And you are back, sir. Hello. Did you miss me? I missed you.
Oh, I missed you. I was like, oh, why is Cumley not talking about this gank that's going down? And apparently I got disconnected from Mumble for a moment there.
Yes.
So that is unfortunate.
It happens to the best of us, no worries. We do have Aurelia kind of warring up this blue buff at this point. Let's make it very difficult for the level 7 Nautilus to take it with the level 10 Aurelia right around the corner. Level 11, pardon me. Ryze does have to come as well, trying to take the blue buff, but Aurelia looking to do something here. Gonna have to go ahead and just walk away, though. Can't 3 versus 1 quite yet.
Yeah, but that moment in time, I feel like it's coming. Aurelia's just been so dominant.
Yes, the Aurelia has been very, very impressive here in the top lane. Of course, that is being played by Wicked. Once again, for those of you that are joining us, CLG.EU using the CLG.NA accounts. So, convert appropriately. Of course, Hotshot GG is Wicked.
Yeah, I'm going to have to reconnect real quick, so I'm going to leave it to you, Kamale, to keep us up to date on all the excitement.
I will do my very best. We do see Nautilus is picking up an Oracle's Elixir right now to kind of match the Skarner, who's of course been just roaming around and taking down wards left and right. He's been doing very, very good. We're seeing a little bit of pressure here middle. It looks like Skarner as well as that Soraka were assisting the Ahri and just kind of pushing it up a little bit here. Very good job here so far by the Ahri of getting some nice farming. 92 CS compared to the 112 of Ryze. Not great, but Ahri's been very independent and man of as opposed to the Nautilus, who's doing quite a bit mid here for the Ryze, trying to secure a kill, but hasn't actually died. So very, very good job by them. Looks like we are going to see CLG.EU take a dragon here. Not too much that they can actually do to oppose it. And this is good because it actually gives Aurelia a little bit more time here top to be independent against this Olaf. Knows that there's no kind of Nautilus or anything hiding anywhere, so she can play, of course, very, very aggressively. See just how aggressive her positioning is here. Can take down this tower whenever she wants to, but is going to go ahead and use this as an opportunity to just take down as much as possible. Do you see Ezreal is going to go down to a Q from the Urgot, and that is a very dangerous kill for them to actually have. This Ezreal really wants to have as much snowball as possible early. We do see the 113 CS compared to the 93, about 20 ahead. We do see the Aurelia finally taking that tower down and just going to continue to push this top lane as much as possible. Of course, is able to push quite quickly. Has managed to pick up that